Territory means somewhere to call home, a place to rest, to find food, and to reproduce. Many animals are very territorial. Each must define, protect, and defend their territories, their own little kingdoms, against the invasion of outsiders. Their very survival depends on it. In some cases, they're places for breeding and raising a family. In others, exclusive sources of food. Others, simply home. But whatever use they put to the land within, they will at all times defend their territorial borders. Iberian lynx roam through the meadows and undergrowth of Spain to stock up on their favorite dish, rabbit. The lynx is one of the rarest felines on the planet. These lynx's territories are usually large. They need a wide area of land in which to find food and females. Each male fiercely defends his territory. It's his domain, essential if he is to eat and reproduce. And now it's time to make use of his private hunting reserve. The Iberian lynx is specialized in catching elusive rabbits. The small herbivore accounts for more than 90% of the lynx's diet. The more rabbits found in a region, the smaller the lynx's territory, and vice versa. When rabbits are scarcer, the wild cat needs a much larger hunting area. Its survival depends on the size of its kingdom and its ability to defend it. Once lunch is finished, it's time for a famed Spanish siesta, but just a short one. It's the middle of winter, and this large male is in heat. And when his caterwauling pierces the cold air, it can be heard several kilometers away. He's caught the attention of a female that lives within his kingdom. Further north, the same scene is being played out. Eurasian lynxes also mark their territories over a region stretching from the Pyrenees to Siberia. They use their long walks in search of food to confirm their borders with powerful scent markings. Eurasian lynx spend hours patrolling pine forests in search of all kinds of food. And while doing so, a male will urinate from time to time, a message that says, "This land is my land. I rule here, and the animals here belong to me." The Eurasian lynx's diet is much less specialized than that of the Iberian lynx, but here in the taiga, there's not much from which to choose. The lynx must walk a lot to find a decent chance of food. And he cannot at any moment lower his guard. His territory is in danger. Some rivals pay no respect to border signs and invade the adjacent territory. Strangers are not welcome here. The ruler of the land must not let the invader enter. With resources at a premium, his own survival is at stake. The incursion of an outsider can only have one conclusion: a ferocious confrontation which ends with the expulsion of the offender. It's not only cats who mark their territories, and scent is not the only means. Calls and songs are also very useful for establishing borders. Little owls call out at sunset to warn of territorial borders in the Mediterranean olive groves. Both males and females emit a cat-like mew to warn other owls not to sneak across their borders. While one of the pair stands guard and calls out, the other hunts and brings food to their brood. Little birds work hard to keep the borders of their kingdom tightly closed. While little owls mew, a large number of birds produce powerful and melodious battle cries. But there are some exceptions. In Australia, Victoria's riflebirds are not much impressed by the concerts of martial music their neighbours perform. Instead, their strategy is to overwhelm opponents in dazzling demonstrations that reaffirm both display posts and territory. A young male tries to seduce another male's potential conquest, and from his own display branch. Such effrontery cannot be tolerated. From high branches and trunks, males make themselves the center of attention with amazing dances. These ritual choreographies have a dual mission. On the one hand, nearby females are attracted to the sensuous movements and iridescent shine of the male's plumage. And on the other, the male shows himself to be absolute owner of his performance spots, the lord and ruler of this portion of the jungle. But the vast majority of birds all over the world sing their own particular songs to establish their territorial borders. Males are in charge of setting borders and defending them at all costs. Many perch on advantageous branches from which to launch their heated war cries. The unusual song of the three-wattled bellbird, from which the species gets its name, resembles metal being struck and can be heard up to a kilometre away. The male's songs somewhat make up for the muteness of the females. The Montezuma oropendola, a Caribbean bird, emits another peculiar sound, this one accompanied by choreography. The male's bubbling, gurgling song during a display of bowing ensures that no other males seduce the females that are part of his harem. In the same territory, a yellow-rumped cacique has a wide repertoire of vocalizations. It can imitate other animals such as monkeys and harpy eagles, and even man-made sounds. In this case, the male's song attracts females and deters other males from approaching their territory. Common nightingales and chaffinches, European robins, goldfinches and sirens, and many more species are responsible for the soundtrack that plays in every corner of the planet. It may all be competition for territory and a mate, but it's as beautiful as battles come. The better males sing, the more successful they will be in finding a mate and keeping competitors away from their home. So much sonic beauty is nothing more than an unwavering war. All these birds have something in common. The extraordinary beauty of their calls is in fact both a forceful declaration of territoriality and a very audible indication of their health and strength. This power is demonstrated from dawn to dusk. During the mating season, it's a labor as non-stop as it is exhausting. There are also mammals that maintain their borders through shouts and song. In the east of the singular island of Madagascar, as it starts to get dark, the jungle is haunted. It's the witching hour, when spirits come out of the forest. Indri, the largest lemurs on the island. Several times a day, Indri make known their claim to their kingdom, one they share with neighbors no longer surprised by what they hear. Indri live in family clans that occupy several hectares of forest. Here they browse the foliage, devouring a wide number and variety of leaves. They must maintain a large territory that provides them with all the necessary food in order to survive. Marking the borders of the kingdom that provides them with food is a daily task. Unlike birds, it's not only the male's responsibility. In Indri society, all adult individuals are involved. At first light of day and again late in the afternoon, their long and powerful serenades begin. Before they start to sing, Indri ascend to the tops of the trees. From here, they can be heard up to 4 kilometers away, and so maintain their borders without bloodshed or even coming into physical contact with potential enemies. The whole tribe gathers together and begins to sing their particular song, a kind of lament that permeates the depths of the jungle, warning all comers that this valley has already been claimed. A peaceful and enchanting way of asserting clan boundaries. The Indri's songs can last for more than 3 minutes, with the length and structure of the calls varying between the groups. Each is perfectly recognizable to the other. It's a difficult sound to characterize, but whether it's a howl, a cry, a shriek, or a lament, it is with good reason that they are known as the spirits of the forest, ghosts who scream from the woodland. Although all the group participates, the melody itself is created by the lead singing duo. Their songs, in addition to marking territorial limits, inform others of the courage and strength of those who sing. They also consolidate bonds within the group and transmit warnings. Far away in another jungle, in the heart of the Amazon region, the phantasmal choruses of lemurs are replaced by the more quotidian buzzing of bees, busy with their daily chores. The bees search for nectar, pollen, and ripe fruit that has fallen to the forest floor. Later, they return to their hive. Worker bees come and go, while some are charged with guarding the entrance to their home. Curiously, the bees have made their hive right up against a huge tropical anthill. However, it seems that bees and ants are friendly neighbors. That is, until something threatens their peaceful coexistence. Their branches shake as a monkey moves through them. This movement causes the ants to panic. Immediately, they go into fight mode, looking for the unseen enemy attacking them. But instead of the monkey, now long gone, they set upon their peaceable insect neighbors, the bees. A Praetorian guard of bees stands firm against the first wave of ants, but the combat has only just begun. In an instant, a terrible fight to the death ensues. Thousands of ants against dozens of bees. The fight seems utterly one-sided, but the bees have a perfect strategy. A tight cordon of fighters mercilessly decapitates the advancing ants. With the bees forced to retreat again and again, the battle leaves hundreds of casualties on the ground. Only the passage of time seems to calm the antagonist's spirits. After a while, everything returns to normal. The bees have once again saved their little piece of the forest. But with so many monkeys in the vicinity, for how long? A little further away, in the Andes rainforest, other struggles are much less fatal, but almost as intense. Violeteers, a genus of hummingbirds, bright and beautiful as emeralds, cute and small as toys, are in fact both as fast as lightning and extremely combative in temperament. Only a high-speed camera can show their struggles, challenges, and constant confrontations. Hummingbirds have a kind of hyperactivity as a consequence of their extremely high metabolic rate. They need super-energy foods in large quantities, so a significant part of their day is spent searching for flowers from which to sip their sugary nectar. Each hummingbird rules over a number of flowers that become vital subjects in its fiefdom, without which it could not survive. Only the intake of its specific daily ration of energy drinks ensures the violeteer live another day. Each hummingbird checks its territory looking for newly emerged flowers and the life-giving nectar that each one holds. So the jungle flowers are like miniature natural gas stations, providing the tiny birds with the fuel they need to fly and defend their territory. The small territory of the violeteers is a permanent humming battlefield. The owner of each bit of space must expel its competitors over and over again to prevent its supplies of fuel being stolen. The fights to eject the freeloaders that invade territories and branches where they rest are not only incessant, they are far more violent than meets the naked eye. Much further south, in the Andes, in the saltwater lagoons of the Atacama Desert, another struggle takes place, a true duel in the sun. The charred shores of the brackish water are home to a strange reptile. Fabian's lizard. Fabian's lizards can withstand daytime temperatures of around 50 degrees. They spend the day hunting the flies that are born on the salt flats. And then it's time to hide in some welcome shade for a few brief but cooling moments. Fabian's lizards have small, moving territories. Each male has an area of personal space of less than half a meter around him, which constitutes his mobile domain. This minimum distance applies as much to females as it does to other males. The females that slink into the vicinity are the object of much attention. The females entice the males with a dance that often ends in a fight. But when it's another male that gets too close, their behavior is very different. The two contenders approach each other, measuring up their opponent. It would seem that war is inevitable. But colorful male Fabian's lizards have evolved a peaceful way of defending their living quarters. This duel in the sun will be decided by a dance-off. The reptiles step, inflate themselves, show their fiery colored flanks, all the while observing each other and barely even coming into contact. No blood in the sand, no one is ever hurt, but the smaller of the dancing reptiles loses, and the winner returns to his new mate. In a totally different environment in the jungles of Asia, other contenders also meet in hand-to-hand duels. These, however, do come to blows. The betta, Siamese fighting fish, is one of the fiercest defenders of its territory. Bettas spend the wet season in large rivers and rice fields, but when the dry season arrives, they undergo some radical changes. The kingdom of betta fish is an area of barely a square meter. They often live in small pools and ponds where they move about in very little space. These are their little countries and territories. Anyone who dares approach is seen as an enemy. Betta fish fins and tails are like great flags, avidly waved to claim their little domain. Only females, much duller in color than males, are allowed to come near. As soon as one of the bright males discovers a female nearby, they spread their fins and display their vivid colors to try to conquer her and mate. When a female approves of the courtship display, her body changes color. It darkens with vertical lines known as breeding bars appearing under her scales. This is how a female betta fish says, "I do." But the scenario may turn out very differently. If another male gets too close to an established betta territory, they strut in an altogether different way. Their gills swell and they spread their fins. This is a sign of a male on full alert. If it comes about that two males actually meet, they may start to bite each other until one retreats. But since so often there's nowhere to retreat to, male betters will bite each other to death. This time, a rough but rapid scuffle is enough to settle the matter, although the loser will need some time to recover. In the nearby coastal waters, other fish also use their dorsal fins as banners hoist with intent. Mudskippers lead strange, dichotomous lives. These amphibious fish live in muddy environments and prefer walking to swimming. When the tides rise, mudskippers disappear into the water, only to re-emerge when the sea recedes, leaving its slick coating of sticky mud. It's now that the mudskippers make their highly individual way along the shore. Mudskippers feed on algae and small animals in the sand, and establish their muddy little kingdoms, lasting just as long as low tide does. And when the sea changes direction, they lose their lands again. Male mudskippers defend their ephemeral estates, but their battles are not injurious or even fatal like those of the Siamese fighting fish. Mudskippers content themselves with visual duels, a war of flags. Each male raises his dorsal fin like a battle standard, claiming a portion of the beach, barely a handful of mud, where it will eat and hope to attract females. Sometimes they will drive off someone who gets too close, but usually a bout of insistent signaling is enough to avoid major problems. And in seemingly no time at all, after so much agitation, the sea once again erases everything for a few hours. When the tide recedes, other perfectly armored beings appear alongside the mudskippers. Fiddler crabs emerge in their thousands from their holes to wave their enormous claw and indicate, with hypnotizing rhythm, where the limits of their territories are. By late afternoon, these beaches throb with the activity of crab mini-kingdoms in their tens of thousands. A frantic spectacle, with everyone hurrying to assert their power and claim their territory. Male fiddler crabs aggressively protect their stretch of shore and their tunnels below the surface. They wave their major claw like a claim-staking flag, but also as a warning. They use it to show off as much as possible during fights. Extraordinarily, if they lose it in battle and a weaker, more fragile one grows in its place, they will learn to adapt their future combat strategies. Crabs with the biggest claws win most encounters. Fiddler crabs hectically wave their mighty pincers along shores in warm waters all around the world. In Central America, they coincide on the beaches with other animals just as ostentatious and boastful as themselves. These are much larger, though. Magnificent frigate birds, seabirds that call to mind qualities of certain dreaded flying dinosaurs. Magnificent frigate birds are excellent flyers that live largely on the wing, snatching food from the surface of the sea. And they hate to get wet. Or rather, their plumage is not waterproof, as is the case with most other aquatic birds, so they have evolved a masterful control of fly fishing to avoid contact with the water wherever possible. Frigate birds fly en masse, looking for food as they do so. They will fight over fish, and they reproduce in large, boisterous colonies. During the mating season, males look for easily visible spots from which, in groups of a dozen or more, they put on dazzling shows for the females watching them from the sky. Somehow they share this crowded stage, this territory where no one has great claims to ownership, and each individual manages with barely 1 square meter of terrain. And no matter how small your acting area, the show must go on. Richly black-feathered males inflate their bright red gula or throat sacs and shake them. With their scarlet throat pouches inflated and trembling like a balloon, males attract the females flying above. But this display often also draws the eye and the beak of jealous neighbors. And so the small communal territory occupied by suitors becomes a little battlefield. The attacker is literally trying to burst his rival's beautiful red bubble and so prevent the females from noticing him. But when under attack, magnificent frigate birds defend themselves magnificently. The attacker ends up being hooked and gets what he deserves from his determined neighbor. In no more than 1 square meter of territory, mating couples are decided, disputes resolved, battle joined, wars won and lost. For frigate birds, their tiny shared territory plays a relatively minor part in their lives. But for many other species, very important matters depend on keeping the borders of their kingdoms well guarded and secure. Territory is home. It may be large or small, ephemeral or eternal, but it's always essential. Within the hard-earned borders of their domains, many animals find sustenance, a mate, and the necessary resources for themselves and their families to survive. Through strident song, colorful displays, or simple fighting, animals will do everything in their power to defend their territory.